Not sure if anybody's watching. Hold on. Hold on. Okay. Hope everyone's doing well tonight. Tonight's going to be finishing up some of the 3 bowls that I had thrown just a couple days ago, and then making just a few more. Only throwing 3 pieces tonight. And unfortunately, I don't think I'll be streaming tomorrow. I'd rather just kind of sit and make work. So I know I did plan on streaming tomorrow, and I let you all know that I would be, but I think I'm just going to take some time, make some stuff by myself, listen to some music, podcasts, and then maybe on Monday night start streaming again. So yesterday I did mention that it was my work was a little dry. No different today because I did not take the time to bag any of my work. So it is more dry. Seems like about probably 26 hours to 30 hours is really right now where it's going to be best drying in ambient. So that's probably where I should focus on my drying, or just building a Sorry. Just responding to some friends. So, should probably build myself a damp box. It'll take some time for me to do that. So let's go. My channel. All right. If you're interested in participating in the comments and getting me to respond, I will be looking at my. That's probably not a good spot for that. I will be looking at my stream chat on Twitch tonight, and I do apologize if you're not on Twitch. You don't need a subscription to Twitch. You don't need to create an account to Twitch to watch my videos. I did have some people previously think they had to sign up and at least create a user account. You don't actually have to do that. You can watch just on your browser, on your phone. If you got the Twitch app, you unfortunately do need to create an account and sign in. So again, today, tools that I will be using, just a metal rib, a large loop tool for trimming, two smaller trimming tools, sin tools, one radius, one square, and then I've got my little scribe tool here. Just a small sculpting tool. I just use that for texture or writing my name or signature in pieces. And then also I will be using a reference tool for width of the feet on these pieces, since I will be trimming 4 of them tonight. So, the wheel turned on. I've got my swimmer's towel down to hold my pieces in place. I've actually just wet the rim by dunking it in my bucket here real quick, just a shallow dip. That's enough to help wet the rim of the piece and hold it in place on the wheel head. Try and just roughly hold it in center, and then I'll tap center here. And that looks pretty good. So go ahead and get to trimming. And I don't see anybody in chat. If there are people who feel like sending messages in chat, feel free. As I said earlier, responding on Twitch, I've got it up on my phone, and I will try and respond as best I can while I really quickly work on trimming this pot first. I do have some pumpkin bread in the oven, and that should be ready in the next 7 minutes. Well, I will have to leave to go check on that. This is not as dry as the pieces yesterday, which is good. I'm getting very nice long ribbons of clay coming off, which I really do prefer. So, just working on getting proper diameter on this foot, and then now you can see here I've got, and if I can get the light, yeah, that looks pretty good. There's some shadows here, so you can see this divot in the side due to a feature there right here. It's just a dimple in the side of the clay, something where I may have gouged it while I was throwing or when I was pulling it off the wheel, and now that's transferred down across the length of the side like this. And if I come back in just with a small portion of this trimming tool, I can remove that pretty easily. But this is not something I have to worry about too much, since there is still material on the foot that I will be removing. So I am going to focus on smoothing out the bottom of this piece with this trimming tool, smoothing it and reducing some of the material present. Come back in just with the tip of this piece, start trying to remove some of the material. See, I'll pull curls here just a little bit at a time. As the clay moves up and down, then I can come back, smooth it out with the broad side of this tool. Come back in here with this angle trimming tool and get an undercut started. And that sounds pretty good for thickness. Remove just a little bit more material down here at the bottom. Okay, nice even transition there. Work on the bottom of the foot. Again, just using the tip of the tool. Just to cut away a little bit of material at a time. I think that's a good amount to remove. So work on smoothing this out. Again, like I said, got some pumpkin bread in the oven, so I will have to step away for just a moment, try and take care of that. But in the meantime, going to be trimming this piece. Okay, it's just a little bit of chattering texture that I want to remove. You can get rid of that just by changing angles of the tool. So that looks pretty good. I'm going to trim away some of the material from the inside. I'm going to switch to this radius trimming tool. Pushing down on this piece while I trim to help hold it in place. So really get a lot of good friction from this swimmer's towel that I use. And now this is not an item that I bought. You should be able to see the rims pretty poorly cut. It's one I just made myself. So I was using synthetic chamois. As a tool for touching up rims of my work, and when I was using bats, when I started using electric wheels, I used this swimmer towel to help keep the bat wobble down, so that way my pieces weren't moving around as much. You can use clay. Clay works just fine to get rid of that, but I didn't like having to apply clay every single time I wanted to trim anything, put it down, adjust it when the piece was done. So just do it this way, and this is a similar way to how I've seen some artists use just water on the rim of the piece to adhere the pot to the wheel head. Just using van der Waals forces of the water interacting between the clay and the wheel itself really is enough, high enough bond strength that you can really keep those pots in place. And I did that myself for a little while, but decided to just switch to this method when it seemed like it would work. Okay, I can hear my oven going off, so my pumpkin bread's probably pretty close to being done. It doesn't really burn all that much, fortunately. I found a friend has introduced me to a gluten-free box of pumpkin bread, and it stays very moist, so I really don't have to worry about that. finished with this piece. I'm going to just trim the bottom. Hopefully not trim through the bottom like I did yesterday. Yeah, that's pretty close. So we'll just take a little bit from the foot here. Add these chamfers that'll then radius. And if anyone is interested, I do CAD modeling for a lot of the tools that I manufacture for myself and occasionally for others. So if there's any interest in watching some of that, I'm not going to show everything, but I can show some of that process if people are interested in watching it. Okay. Good trim there. Come back with this metal rib. Try and buff this just a little bit. Polish it out. And one tool that I forgot is a little rubber rib to help smooth out and burnish the foot of the piece. Get that done. I'll take this makeup sponge real quick and smooth that some. Soften it up before I burnish it. Get just a little bit of a smoother foot. Okay, now to finish the piece with this trimming tool here, try and mimic some of the cuts. That I have up on the top of the piece, and that will be done. Move some of these trimmings from in the foot. Get my signature in here, and then I'm going to take a quick break to check on my baked goods, and I will be right back. So, okay. Stuck well, which is good. Keep it from coming off the wheel while you're trimming your work. Use this makeup sponge real quick around the rim, smooth it out here. Try and smooth out some of the stuff on the outside where the trimming's stuck just a little bit. And I will say, one of the things that new students, if you're new to making pottery, or if you've never even made pottery before, one thing that people will really want to do while they're making their work is to overwork the pieces. So if there's a feature they don't like, they'll spend a lot of time trying to fix it, rather than letting it live a little bit and then coming back and fixing it later. So just remember to take some time, let your pieces firm up while you're making them, so you can come back later and fix any issues that might arise. Alright, I'll be right back. Gotta check on my pumpkin bread. pretty good. I'd say it was Baker Joseph's, but I've augmented it just slightly. I thought it was a little too doughy when I made it the first time, so instead of removing anything, I decided to add some chufa flour that I had lying around, which gives it a really nice nutty flavor, and also helps get that texture to a little more bread-like consistency so far. So, it turned out pretty nice. Very hot, so I'll have to let it cool before I go really eating anymore. Speaking of eating, something I haven't had in a while is some Cuban food. I certainly wouldn't mind having some of that delivered later. But unfortunately that business closes soon. So it looks like I won't be getting any Cuban food tonight. Maybe I'll pick some up tomorrow. Just gonna work on trimming these pieces. Alright, going pretty slow right now. Let's speed up the pace. If there's any interest in how these pieces will be glazed and fired, if you've not watched the stream before, this is a series of work that I'm doing for a wood firing test. So making about 30 to 40 pieces for this wood firing test, and then I'll just be using a liner on the inside, and it's one out of John Britt's high fire glaze books. So it's a cone 10. I'll be firing at a friend's house. We fire cone 10 to cone 12, and it's a very efficient kiln. I might actually end up streaming some of that firing process. It'll be in a week, so if anyone is interested in watching that, I can definitely make that happen. It won't be the entire process because it's going to be a 30-hour stream, and to be honest, I don't think I'm really socially available for 30 hours of stream time. I know some of that will just be left up to potentially mounting a camera right at the kiln itself. Could be, but I think more than anything it's just going to be whatever streams I end up doing for that event. It'll just be a small little maybe hour-long clip of stoking the firebox. Maybe I'll do kiln loading. Who knows? I'll have to ask my friend. It's really up to him if he wants me to have a stream going while at his house. Okay, so I've got that roughly the height that I want. Check the width, much wider than what I need. So I'll use my tool here to mark. Still a little wide. Get another line in there. Okay, so now I've got this line and I can go ahead and reinforce that. That's just wandering all over the place. Let me just cut a chamfer into that point. Okay, so this will be the width that I shoot for on this foot. And just come back and start trimming the outer diameter. And you can hear the clay making some noise on my fingers. That's because it's just at that leather hard state where it's kind of waxy. It's just slightly smooth. It's really not all that soft. So there's not a whole lot of distortion I'm going to be able to do on this piece. Just working on removing a small amount of material at a time so I can get an even shape to this. Don't want to remove too much, trim through the piece, or make it too thin. Definitely don't want my work being too thin. While I do enjoy thin work, I've found my patrons don't necessarily enjoy thin work, especially when it comes to functional items. They like the pieces to have some heft, so they know that they're going to survive use. Okay, got a nice undercut there. Just go ahead and take this a little further out. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Would have liked those ridges to come down just a little bit further, but it's okay. It's not something I'm going to worry about too much. Try and take away some of these trimmings from the edge of this piece, so they're not going to distort too much. So now we'll just cut into the foot here, just like I was doing previously. There's a lot of different techniques that you can use for trimming. There's a lot of right ways to do things, but there's infinitely more wrong ways to do things. So if you learn the main things what not to do, you can figure out what you can do to work around that situation. That doesn't mean there are a finite number of ways to do things correctly. There's certainly, say, probably an infinite number of both, but some infinities are bigger than others. So just working on trimming this piece down. I can go to using this piece here like it was previously, cutting a vertical channel. Really what I'm focusing on is applying even pressure and not letting the clay move my tools around, and also not pulling away from the clay too quickly. That can cause problems. And you did notice the tool kind of bit there and pulled away from my hand. You do want to make sure you have a good firm grip on your tools so they don't get away from you, fly across the room, injure yourself, gouge your pieces. Just make sure you're nice and firm but gentle with how you're working. Trying to go fairly quickly with this. I don't want to spend too much time trimming these pieces. I don't want to spend too much time making any of the work, and it becomes more of a waste if I'm not being able to be productive in other areas. I do intend to sell some of my work, not all of it. I tend to make a lot of stuff for myself to use. Cups, bowls, plates, tools. I do intend to sell things if there's any interest in people purchasing my work, then I certainly won't turn it down. I don't really post pictures of my work online. The final product, I'm fine just doing streams. People get to watch and hang out and see what's going on. But I really don't prefer posting my work online. And that's just because I prefer more to work word of mouth and in person. You do want to be careful if you're trimming work that's as dry as this is. If you push down too hard with your hands to help stabilize, you can end up giving yourself a blister or just wearing through your skin, so you want to be careful with that. If this was a wetter clay, I would really be able to get through this quickly. But pretty dry since I've just left it out and not bagged anything. And just working on getting a nice tall foot on my pieces. I do like tall feet. I like the pieces to look elevated, like they're rising up out of tables or surfaces, and kind of floating as well. So I like these tall feet. I don't want them very narrow, so I don't want the pieces to fall over like I've mentioned before. But I do want them to look elegant with these feet. I really do have to support this tool with my hand while I'm down at the bottom trimming this work. Because it is thin, it does like to pull into the clay, especially when the clay is this hard, and gouge the work, unfortunately, so I have to be careful. Might switch to this, see if this can get me a little better result here. Just, yeah, taking a small amount of material away at a time. Don't have to worry as much about getting caught in the clay. Get a nice even surface there. So it can seem kind of inundating with a lot of the tools that there are with pottery making, and you certainly don't need all of them, but some of them do make the work much, much easier depending upon what you're doing. So I think that looks pretty good. I could go a little bit more narrow from the inside of this piece And I think I may do that just a little bit. There we go. Makes that foot look just a little bit smaller. Well, not really pulling away all that much more material by tapering it. Just trimming with this loop tool to get a little bit of a fillet there. Smooth contour. This clay really does want to pull, so I gotta be careful here. Did gouge the bottom of the piece just a little bit, which is not a terrible thing. I've got plenty of clay there to work with. Do need to work on a good even transition though. And you might ask, why don't I have a damp box? It's just because I'm just now getting back into making work. So, you know, I don't have every single tool that is most ideal to have. I just have a few. So I'll eventually get the damp box made. Okay, nice and smooth. Come back here, chamfer the bottom of the foot on the inside and on the outside. Give it a nice round over edge. Come back with this makeup sponge, wet it, smooth it out with a rubber rib. And then cut in this texture to mimic the surface of the piece. Alright, there's another piece done. Just have to put my signature on it and then set it to the side. Okay, that's finished. Clean up the crumbs from the rim. Makeup sponge to smooth all that out. Alright. Turn to piece number 2 to 2 more to get done here, and then I will begin throwing some work. Give me just a minute. You want to get a shout out? Yep, there you go. There's your shout out. Got some family watching on the TV. Nice, nice. Well, Russ, I hope you're enjoying watching my pottery stream. I will be back in a week to get these pieces fired. So if you want to hang out, you let me know. All right. Let me get my swimmer's towel here evened up. Work on giving this a dunk, wetting that rim so that way it sticks just a little bit better in place. Get one more of the many bowls made that I have started for this test. Okay, close enough. Just tap it into place here. Alright, that looks good. Start trimming this piece down. And it is, if you look at the rim, it's a little off center, but not a big deal. It's not really what I'm focusing on, since the piece gets distorted when I put in the texture up near the rim. I'm not too worried about it being perfectly centered, just getting that foot centered, since that's the thing I spent so much time on, centering the piece down here and then pulling it up and out later. Put in my guideline for trimming the foot down. It'll end up being just a little bit smaller than this, the line up here on the top, but that will certainly help. And it came loose. So it's just go ahead and just give it a dunk once more. Go a little bit deeper this time. Try centering this piece up again. Okay. It's a little off from where it was previously, but it's alright. See, now if I try and center it more towards the body, then the foot is now all over, back and forth, which there we go. We'll go with that. So that means this line is now no longer relevant, so I can trim that away. I got a lot of foot up here that I can remove. So just bring this guide tool in. Once again, a little off center, but reinforce that there. Come back with this tool and get to hacking away at all this material I don't need. Nice long satisfying ribbons of clay coming off here. Love those. They hit my brain in a nice way, just watching those come off. Not putting enough downward pressure on the piece, slides out of the way. Gives me more practice for tap centering. All of you, more experience watching what tap centering is like. There we go. Back evened up well enough. So now I'll just come at it like this. Keep that from coming off center as best I can. Okay. Trying to get through a piece every roughly 15 minutes. And come back with, actually, keep going with this piece and I'll switch to one of the 90-degree trimming tools. Come back and cut that foot. Moved a decent amount of material there to help even out shape. Come in with this trimming tool. Get a nice undercut there. Okay, that looks pretty good. Trim away some of these marks that I left. Even up the shape of this piece. Don't want to trim away too much, especially not up that texture that I've added. Okay, that looks pretty good. Start working on removing some of the material from the inside. Typically you do want to spend your time trimming with a high RPM on your wheel, which is why I always preferred trimming on an electric wheel, because it was a little more consistent than a kick wheel was, or can be. be pretty much the minimum for height on that foot that I want to do. Work on getting the contour on the outside created. Alright, that looks pretty good. Get back to trimming away some of this material. And I do end up actually slowing down my wheel speed quite a lot, simply because I am used to making pots slowly. So I do try and stay conscious of that, and as best I can get the wheel speed back up and going again. But I will very often just really slow down. I need to focus on keeping that speed nice and high, keeping a high turning speed. Reduces the chance of throwing the piece off the wheel by grabbing too much clay, because you can just pull little shallow bits away at once, and anytime you do make a mistake, that mistake is carried over a broader surface area than if your wheel is turning too slowly. Just work on going back and forth here, inside to outside and back. Should make some handles for these things. They're pretty nice tools, but it's using them for trimming purposes like I am, rather than just chattering, can be kind of fatiguing on the hands. So I could make some handles, 3D print something, and put it, you know, set the piece in it, but not something too large. Still, if I want to use these for chattering, I still want them to be pretty flexible, so I'll need it to be fairly short, or a handle that I can just easily remove if I want to. Switch over to this one here. Get this side wall pulled down. Nice long clay ribbons coming off these trimmings. I don't know what I was hitting there. That was an air pocket or a soft spot. It was kind of odd. See, my wheels really filling up with these trimmings. So should definitely empty this before I start throwing some pieces. Don't need this mess in here. Don't like this mess in here. Gotta be careful I don't wear through my thumb right here, pushing down. Thank you, thank you. Appreciate it. If anyone has anything in mind for Christmas that they would like, go ahead and let me know now so that way I can plan on getting that stuff made. I know we haven't picked names yet, but you know, if you do get me or I get you, let me know what you might want. Just gonna work on these last two pieces to trim, and then start throwing some work. Might take a break for a minute, order some food before I'm done with the last piece, and then take a break when the food gets here. Not quite sure what I want to eat. Might order some pizza. Hot box does sound pretty good. Usually try and copy a Aegean style pizza from a little pizza place called Nick and Willie's. Not actually sure if they're even around anymore, but just spinach and feta with sun-dried tomatoes on top and olive oil for a base, no tomato sauce. That's probably my favorite pizza. Sounds good. Although Cuban food would be great, some mofongo would be awesome, some masitas would be pretty good, fried pork chunks. So I'm out here in my garage making work, and I don't know if you can hear the wind. Probably not. It's not that strong that it's making a whole lot of noise, but much stronger than I anticipated it would be tonight. Would be a good night to have a fire, but I don't think I'm gonna sit in my backyard by myself. Well, I'd have my dog out in the backyard with me. My roommate is off spending time with family right now. Alright. Pretty even, a little bit thicker here. A little bit thicker in the bottom of the foot. Switch to the other tool, that one bites too much. Okay, come back with this, get that angle that I want down the bottom. And I'll show you the inside of the foot for this piece, so I haven't shown that off. This foot's a little bit taller than the last one is. I can trim it down just a little bit, but I think I'll probably just leave it. I'm okay with a little bit of variation in the work. And these aren't like actual sets that I'm making. Now, I have had some people ask me if they can get a set of these pieces that I'm making here. Yeah, sure. But I'm going for similar, not exact. So if you're okay with things being a little bit different from one another, then that's fine. I've got some, just with the ridges on the outside, that go spiral around the piece. I've got another set of bowls that have these spiral ridges and dimples on the work. And then the next set of 10 that I make is going to be chattered with what looks like sand dunes on the surface. That's one of my favorite textures to put on pieces. Alright, got that radius on there trimmed. A little bit of a bump in there from air pocket. I didn't wedge this clay up all that much. I should have, but I was pretty tired when I made these pieces and didn't really wedge them. Okay. Now that's burnished pretty well, but I'm going to come back over it, smooth it a little bit more. Wet sponge on the bottom of the foot. Burnish it with a rubber rib. And that helps to get this bottom of the piece smooth so it doesn't mar your table or whatever you might put it on if you're going to use it pretty regularly as a functional piece. You can microwave and dishwash these with the deep foot in them. I wouldn't recommend putting them in a dishwasher. It'll be a mess when you go to toss them in your cabinet. You'll have to dry them separately. But I would recommend testing the pieces in the microwave before you just toss them in for a whole 3-4 minutes, so that way you can make sure that they're going to properly withstand the heat. I could make some out of some fire clay. I think Aardvark makes fire clay. I can't remember what company it is, but that's more for making like Dutch ovens and things like that. Which I've been interested in trying that. I just don't know if I ever actually will. It is very tempting to use some of those specialty clays, especially if you want to, you have the skill to make your own pottery and you want to try and make some nice cookware for yourself. You certainly can do that. Just Got to make sure your glazes are also compatible. Oh, you know what I forgot to do? You know what I forgot to do that I'm going to have to... All this work smoothing up the rim I'm going to have to fix. I didn't put in the texture on the bottom of the foot. Let me get all this clay, all these trimmings off of here, and get this centered back up, and I will put that texture in. Nice and centered now, although I didn't really have to get it centered to that point in order to come in here and trim in these texture lines. Alright, that's done. Quick hit with the sponge. Smooth that back out. Make sure I do it down here. And camera view both cameras. So you can see inside of the foot here. It's pretty deep. It's about an inch deep. About 3/8 of an inch thick. And then it gets a little bit thicker, about a half an inch down here. So you can see this texture that I put in the surface with a rib and then cut in with a trimming tool, same texture there. So nice shiny surface. I really do like that. I should make some more racket pieces and burnish them, make them nice and shiny like that. Okay, bear with me just a minute. Gonna take the time to order a pizza, and then I will be right back. Alright, it'll be probably about 5 minutes. Just take some time. Grab a drink, do what you need to do. Sorry I don't have a splash screen. I'll get one created eventually. So, got the pizza ordered. My goal now is to get this piece trimmed before the pizza shows up. It's not too far away, so it shouldn't take too long for it to get here. And then pause the stream for a minute, and then I'll be back after I eat to actually throw some bowls. So if you've been more interested in seeing me throw some work, then please do hang out to check that out. Alright, last one to trim tonight. Pretty close, so I'll go ahead and tap center this. Okay, that looks pretty good. Start off with guide stick. That looks alright. And then get these sidewalls trimmed up. Make sure I apply downward pressure to this piece so it doesn't come off the wheel like it did on the last one. Gotta work on some of this here up top. A little uneven, pushing me all over the place. And then I love these big ribbons of clay that come off. Those are nice. Come off more easily when it's more wet. Anyone have any good plans for Halloween? Any fun parties? Taking kids trick-or-treating or whatever? I will be Halloween proper. Probably not doing anything. But Halloween weekend plan is to get these pieces fired. That is the current plan. That may change, maybe delayed by a week, but at most it would be delayed by 1 week. Switch over to this guy here. This one's good for getting these undercuts in place. Alright, good start there. Switch to this one just because. Get this top trimmed. Again, Trying to go as quick as I can. I want to get this done before the pizza gets here. Usually on the website they take the estimate is about 45 minutes for pizza to get here. I know it doesn't take 45 minutes. At most it's usually about 25 minutes. Looks like the piece has shifted slightly. No, maybe not. Guess I've just been trimming off center the entire time. Come back here, get this undercut going back again. Keep slipping, gouging the belly of the bowl. Come back at this tool, it leaves a nice burnish just as it trims. So let's come back to that. These nice long curls are just really satisfying. But this piece I'm not really trying to get the body, the belly of the bowl evened up. The whole thing is pretty undulates quite a lot, which is not really a big concern. I do want to get these grooves out of here from, I think, a piece of grog or something in the way. Got caught by the trimming tool. Alright, so go ahead, speed it back up. Get this going. Clear out as much material from inside the foot as I can, as quickly as I can. If you go too quick, it's pretty easy to lose the piece. Tools getting caught and pulled out of your hands. I did develop a nice technique with grinding and polishing glasswork that involved just wrapping duct tape around the bottom of the piece, because you're just holding your piece against the grinding wheel. It's basically just a glorified potter's wheel with a magnet in the wheel head, so that way you can slap on some abrasive discs. And it's the opposite of what I'm doing now. So instead of having the piece on the wheel and using a tool, the wheel is the tool. So I'm holding the piece the other way around and polishing, and I can easily grab the abrasive disc, can grab on the glass piece itself and pull it out of your hands and actually knock it around inside the splash pan. And that's really frustrating to have to deal with, and it's easy to lose pieces because of that. So I would actually take my pieces and put like 5 or 6 pieces of duct tape on the bottom, so that way if it did catch and it kind of rocked the piece and rotated over, it ended up just catching on the duct tape, and I would kind of kick the piece up off the grinding wheel, and I would be able to come back and get everything centered up again by hand and start grinding some more. Made it much safer. Really boosted my confidence for using the lapidary wheel and grinding and polishing work, but I still don't like the process of grinding and polishing glass. It takes a while to do, just like it does with these pieces, but I find that if you can just like blow a foot, say I wanted to make a shape similar to this, obviously I couldn't put these ridges in here as predominantly without doing something like grinding, but if I wanted to make a piece like this, glass blowing, I could just add a hot bit, a very, very large hot bit to the bottom of the piece before I do the transfer, and then use a tool like newspaper, or I could use even a little wooden dowel to push down in the piece while my assistant came and pushed the paddle up against right here, and could have created a foot like this, or I could have done a blown foot where I attached another blown piece to this and then folded the walls in, so it would have been just a bubble stuck to it with a hole in it, and then I could fold that down in and I could have this shape here. I wouldn't even have to grind and polish anything really afterwards, which I very much prefer. It's not something that is as advantageous with wheel thrown pottery. Other manufacturing methods, you can use similar techniques to what I was describing, glass blowing, to get the same effective process without having to trim any of the work. I just really prefer wheel throwing, so that's what I like to go with. And yes, I do realize that this foot is still too tall. Come back in here, adjust the corner of this trimming tool. Remove just a little bit of material at a time. Cut these nice long ribbons, nice curls. really do enjoy seeing those pieces of clay come off like that. Take it down just a little bit more. Okay, pretty level. It's a decent height there. Switch over to this tool. Cut away this material on the inside of this foot. Try and make this foot a little more narrow before finishing everything up. Just taking little bites at a time. And with this tool and trimming from the inside like this, you get those nice ribbons of clay that come off and actually curl up and out and go away from the piece while you're trimming, which is very nice because you don't have to worry about them coming back in to the piece and interfering with actually trimming the portions where your tool is currently contacting, because they'll come back over and get right in front of that tool, and then when you're trying to actually trim, your tool starts to bounce around. Okay, come in here just lightly with this tool, switch over to this one to try and get a nice radius down in the bottom of that foot. Alright, now just cut this chamfer on the inside and outside edges so that way I can round it over. Quickly round this surface. Blow some of that clay out of the way. Okay. Sounds pretty good. Burnish the outside of this piece. I bet that pizza guy is going to be here pretty quick. So, get this done. Take probably a half an hour break. I know a lot of people probably have stopped watching. I do appreciate everyone who has watched the stream tonight. Thank you for coming. Accidentally gouged the piece a little bit with that rib, but that's okay. It's not going to hurt anything. Come in, start this texture here. And there we go, last trim pot for the night. About right on time with how quickly I wanted to get things done. Would have liked to have been able to get it done a little bit faster. But this clay was a little too dry for trimming. Okay. Dry sponge to take away crumbs. Bowl is actually kind of heavy. Could trim it a little bit more, but I like the shape of it, so I'm just going to leave it. Okay, those crumbs off of the piece. Come in with my nice wet makeup sponge. Smooth this surface over. Alright, well, I'll take a break. Right at 10 o'clock, sounds pretty good. I'll be back in probably a half an hour. And can finish up making the 3 pieces that I need left out of this clay body, and then tomorrow I'll work on making pieces out of a different clay body. This would actually be better if I didn't have these holes cut into this piece. It wouldn't catch clay down in those, but that's alright. So far, thanks everybody for watching. Like I said, trying to get everything finished before pizza delivery guy gets here. So I'm going to take my trimmings, stick them in a bag, stay on the string for just a little bit longer, and once I get everything cleaned up, and go ahead and put it on hold. These splash pans are very nice for being able to hold trimmings. Not having a splash pan really does actually make it pretty difficult. Try and keep things clean, and all your clay is just going all over the place. Alright, stick that into my trimming bucket on the side. I'm not going to reconstitute any of that and use it over again. It's just going to get tossed, since that bucket is actually a whole mess of multiple different clay bodies. It's got stonewares and porcelains and everything in there, and I could mix it up and come up with something decent, but yeah, I don't think I'm going to do that. So, alright, thanks everybody for watching so far. I'm going to close the stream for right now, and then I'll be back in about a half an hour.